Welcome, sir.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you guys?
We're doing well, sir, and yourself?
I'm doing really good. Am I a little bit lagged?
Nah,
You look,
you look good to us.
yeah, according to this. Yeah, thank you for stopping by. We are pleased to
Thank you
have
guys
you.
for having me.
I see you're ready to fuel up there. That's good. Getting all jazzed. So we're looking to learn more about scatter. We have an audience ranging from fairly new to EOS all the way up, and so we'd love to hear. And Bluejays already mentioned the word MetaMask, which we know you love. So we'd like to hear all the different ways that it's different from MetaMask. We'd like the security improvements, everything that you've done. And of course, you have an announcement that we're excited to hear about as well.
I actually just spent a couple days integrating something with MetaMask, and I have to tell you, it was a hassle after working with Scatter for so long. And EOS in general.
So, Nathan, can you go by Nathan?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Basically, the format of these is just who, what, where, why, and when. And let's start with who. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved into EOS and take it from there?
Well, my story isn't exactly extravagant or particularly interesting. I'm just a guy, family, wife, and a kid. I do programming, right? I'm a normal guy. I happened to put some money into a wallet a couple years ago just so I could develop some freelance project. And I decided, well, one day I saw an ad for EOS on Reddit, of course. And I was like, oh, this is cool. I can get behind this. You know, I'd like to develop something with this. So I instantly went to Coinbase, which is the only place that I knew to buy cryptocurrency. And I found that I had a whole bunch of money sitting in this wallet. It's like, oh, cool. I instantly moved it to EOS, almost every single penny of it. And from there, I just started playing around, and I noticed that, there's something missing here. There's no way to interact with things securely.
Nathan, what's your background? Are you a developer?
I am a developer by trade.
Okay, cool.
No school or anything, but I've been doing it for a long time.
Well, and you've accomplished a tremendous amount with Scatter. And where are you based out of? What previous projects have you worked on too?
I'm in Israel at the moment. I work with a company here, a startup. I haven't really done anything super known. I did a company called Socks in the Box a couple of years ago, which was fairly popular in LA and New York. Like I said, just a normal guy. Nothing. I haven't worked for Apple or Facebook or any of these super large companies.
Well, I'll tell you from what we've seen so far in EOS, you are kind of I would say you're probably the star developer in my mind. As the guy who helps to cover the news, I keep seeing you pop up, and I think Scatter is a tremendous accomplishment this early on. I know I'm impressed. Can you tell us a little bit more about Scatter?
You're the only person I care about, Kevin.
Guys, we need a moment here. No.
I'll drop off.
Later.
Let's go back. So actually, I'll take us back for a moment. The first time I heard about Scatter was on Christmas Day, and I was perusing the developer chat. I was trying to come up with some news for that Telegram summary. Right. And there was Mr. James, and he had said he'd worked all through Christmas on his DApp that was at that point.
It does help that I'm in Israel.
Okay, well, that's true. That makes a good point. Yeah. But back then I had no idea. It's like, oh, here's this guy working like a maniac through Christmas. So I was pretty impressed. And then, what was it, like 5 days later you came out with Scatter itself? How long after that was it? Give us sort of the timeline, because that's about all I know, really.
Honestly, it was maybe a week after I found EOS that I started work on Scatter.
Wow. Just
because, I couldn't build anything else without building Scatter. I'm primarily user-centric developer. I like doing things that users would appreciate. And without something that they can interact through the web browser securely, I just couldn't find any reason not to do it.
Sure. And I'm sure many other dApp developers will be in the same boat.
Absolutely. There's a whole bunch of guys that I'm already in constant contact with that not only want to, but have to integrate with it in order to secure their users' private keys.
And how exactly does it work? Can you give us a little tour through Scatter?
Sure. So there's this whole thing where Scatter is a bridge, and It's great for somebody who's super technical and already knows what MetaMask is and already knows all of this. But I think for the normal user, that's a bit abstract and possibly not a good way to explain it. So think of it like a little black box that you are holding in your hand, right? And you can open this box, and inside the box, there's a bunch of compartments. And inside of these compartments, you can put all of your confidential information that tell the world who you are specifically. So you can put your first name, your last name, you can put your email, your EOS accounts. So those would be your bank accounts, whereas the rest of your information would be your passport. And then let's say you walk into a store, right? Some dusty old store, and you look around and you find something you like, but you don't know the store and you don't know the clerk at the desk. So you show him your little black box. And he taps the black box, and magic happens, and two, buttons appear on the box or whatever. One's red, one's blue, or sticking with the Matrix thing. And if you click the red button, you deny it, and they will never have any information about you, right? But you also can't purchase what you want to purchase. If you click the blue button, they will get money from you magically. This document signed, which is worth money. Of value. And because of the way that the clerk touched the box, they can also get your name and your email, for instance, to send you a receipt and to know who to send it to. So that's kind of what MetaMask, that's kind of what Scatter is doing for EOS, which MetaMask isn't. We're giving you the ability to sign transactions securely through your browser without ever exposing your private keys. But we're also giving you a way to give necessary information that you need, for instance, for shopping. So your shipping address and your email and your first name, things that people need to actually send you physical goods, all in the click of a button. So you fill it out once, you click accept transaction, and you're done.
So it's kind of like when people go onto Amazon and then they start typing their information into the box and it just automatically fills all the information in, except it's more secure because it's through, it's basically, is it transacting with your wallet in your desktop on your hard drive? Or where
so you would actually import your private key from some other wallet into Scatter, and then it acts as a, I don't like to use this word because it's used in other things in EOS, but it acts as a relay between your wallet to the application.
Okay.
And you used to be able to create accounts inside of Scatter. However, there's an issue with faucets, and you can't really put a private key owned by Scatter into Scatter without having it publicly visible to anybody who downloads Scatter. So I'm working with a couple people trying to find a good way to actually create accounts inside of Scatter, but right now it's not supported.
So for Scatter to interact with your account and be able to purchase, it needs to translate your private key pretty much. So is there some kind of encryption going on in there?
Absolutely. Well, first off, when you put in your private key into Scatter, it's instantly encrypted and put into a local storage, which exists in your browser, but outside of the accessible scope of the website. So they will never have access to this storage. The same as if it was just on your desktop. So it is as secure as a desktop wallet. Then your entire keychain, including all of your permissions for specific websites and all of your histories, is also encrypted and put into the local storage. So your key is actually encrypted twice. Not that it makes that much of a difference. But even when you pull your keychain into memory, your keys are always still encrypted. And only when you sign things with them, are they decrypted using your current seed, which hangs around in memory inside of that extension.
Cool. And I was playing around with it today, and I've noticed that you can have different identities. And this is, is one identity associated to one public key, or is there?
No, that's the beauty of it, is we kind of want to keep, it would be like having one bank account for each passport you own, right? That would be the equivalent of that. Whereas what the identity does is it allows you to have multiple bank accounts, so multiple EOS accounts or public private keys under one identity, which is, you can have multiple identities, but let's say you have one identity for you, one identity that you use when you buy your wife things or your spouse. And then you could have one identity which you use for when you buy your kids things.
One identity for your cat.
One identity for your cat, right? Snuffleupagus has to have an identity.
Do you every time he's in trouble, is it Snuffleupagus or do you go by Snuffy?
I go by Snuffy. Only when I'm in trouble, though.
Okay, I got you.
So this is different than MetaMask. MetaMask, you have accounts, whereas you've abstracted that to a one-to-many relationship between identities and accounts. Is that right?
Exactly. It's actually technically many-to-many because you can have those accounts in multiple identities.
Oh wow. Okay, so you can have an identity for Snuffleupagus, right, and then have one for yourself, and both have the same accounts within those identities.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Exactly.
And why would I use one identity versus the other? Could we go through that again?
So it comes down to anonymity, right? Sometimes I want to be NSJames on the internet, and sometimes I go trolling, right? And I want to have some other kind of identity which doesn't have my real personal information. Maybe I want to live on Rainbow Road. Maybe my name is Clark Kent, right? I want to have that option to be able to easily switch between predefined accounts without having to go fill out another 10 forms on a website.
So I'm starting to see here why you named it Scatter. You're almost like you're spreading stuff around, like right. In a sense, you're just making it this is going to be a hard one. Anonymous, right? That's yeah.
Well, you can be anonymous. You can also be who you are. Depends how you want to go about things. It gives you the options.
Interesting.
Wow, this is pretty good. I've noticed your marketing efforts are pretty impressive as well. Here we have Space Invaders. Many people were introduced to Scatter through that. And
all of our scores got deleted. Send hate mail to DigitalOcean.
Is that what's going on? Yeah. A lot of folks have noticed it's been going up and down, but I think you have it fixed now, right? It's working right now. Okay, good. So everybody go into Space Invaders. I've been playing this whole time. I've got 40,000 points. I'm kidding.
Don't be like Michael Yates. He hacked that.
What did Michael Yates do?
Michael Yates, he hacked into Space Invaders.
Thank you, Michael Yates, for taking down Space Invaders. It's nice.
There's actually there's a push that I'm waiting to push to fix some of the hacking, but everybody would have to re-download Scatter, so I'm waiting for this interview.
Huh. Okay. And tell us, where do you see Scatter going? What's the future?
It's a hard question to answer simply because the future is whatever the community dictates it to be. It's more of a tool than anything. And if the community decides that something is needed, it will be added because it's ultimately what the developers need and the users who use it that define what Scatter is and what it will be. What I do see it as is a way for people do not have to go through all of the unnecessary torture that is signing up to new applications, right? Like I don't want to have to enter my first and last name, even if it's an autocomplete across 100 different applications. We're in 2018. This shouldn't happen anymore. So I'm very focused on user experience. And I believe that if we can bring not only a user experience like centralized websites to the blockchain, but better than centralized websites, then we've got gold in our hands, which is malleable to make anything we want.
Are there any plans for mobile?
There are. There's actually big plans for mobile. Not only are we going to be creating a mobile application, we're probably going to start off only on Android at the beginning, but we're also going to be creating some plugins for gaming platforms such as Unity and Unreal Engine.
Oh, wow.
So that you can have this ability to use microtransactions, not through Google Play, but through cryptocurrencies, something which isn't exactly possible at the moment without putting your private keys directly into a game. And I can't fathom anybody actually doing that, right? So we're going to use intents in order to interact with these games and these plugins and allow some really cool stuff.
So I'm automatically thinking like micro rewards not just saving your score, but having little micro rewards for, you know.
Right, exactly.
Interesting.
You'll love what I'm going to drop on you at the end of this.
Okay. Wow.
We've heard some rumors, of course. Everybody has been wondering about what might be going on here, and
right.
So let's start moving towards that, I guess. So you put a picture of an airplane up there, and people are thinking about possible airdrop, and so a lot of folks would say, well, what does Scatter need a token for? Like, why?
Oh, I've heard that a lot. So it's true. First off, I want to make something absolutely clear. The system that runs with the token is not mandatory for Scatter's use. And you will not have to use the tokens to do any transactions or anything like that. They're not going to be limiting the already created functionality of Scatter. And I think that's important because I've been getting a lot of, Twitter messages and people on Telegram asking me about, is this gonna change the way that it works? Is it gonna limit my ability to onboard users? And no, it definitely will not. What it is, let's drop some bombs. It's a system for Scatter called Riddle. That's RIDL. And it's a reputation and identification layer for Scatter. It's going to give the ability for the identities that are already existing inside of Scatter to register their name uniquely across the network. This will also work for applications and should work for applications. They can then become unique not only in the network, the main network, but all networks. So let's say you have a Scatter running on the main network and a Scatter running on some other network, a test network. If a name has been reserved on the main network, it's inaccessible from the test network. You would have to create something that isn't already reserved, right? This gives us the ability to apply reputation uniquely to an identity. Now, what this means for applications is users can say, okay, this application is good. Or this, even better, this application is bad, right? Then every time, if it gets enough bad reputation, whether you are registered with Riddle or not, inside of Scatter, when you try to create a transaction to this website, it'll give you a warning. And it'll say, we've noticed, a lot of users have noticed that this website is most likely a scam. Beware of signing any transactions with them. So it's going to be a system to help secure users even further.
So it's kind of like you're offering a rating system, almost like the Apple Store, the Google Play Store.
Right, but completely decentralized, powered by the blockchain. And there's a lot of really cool stuff in there that makes sure that it's resistant to Sybil attacks. And if anybody actually wanted to try to attack the network, it would cost them millions of dollars just to get a decent reputation.
Wow.
What you said was really interesting about if you have Scatter on one network and then you have it on a separate network.
Right.
They will, dare I use the term inter-blockchain communication? Is that?
In a way, because Scatter is always local to your machine, that means that we can have an endorsed network. So Scatter in itself has a network that can never be removed, which will eventually become the main network. And that is where the Riddle contract will live. And every time you go to an application, it goes and searches for the contract account and sees if it's registered with Riddle, if it has reputation. And if it is registered and you're on the wrong network, it will be able to tell you that this is not the real contract. Let's say this is Bitfinex with a tiny I under one of the I's, a tiny dot under one of the I's. And this is not the real Bitfinex. Do not put your private keys in here. Do not send it money. You will lose it.
Huh. Okay. I'm looking to hear more. I'd like to hear more about the Riddle token as well. RIDL, you said.
Yeah, I'll send you guys. I think this is ready to be dropped on the community.
I think you said there's a maximum number of tokens
right
one person can have, which makes it a more.
I can't post links in here. I'll send it.
we'll share it out.
Please pass that along for me.
We'll hang on to it for a little bit. We'll just we'll look at
Go
it.
for it.
Go ahead.
So yes, one of the ways that the system works in order to fight Sybil is that users can only give reputation to an application once. They can change the reputation they give them, either a +1 or a -1, however they see fit, but they can only give it once. This means that for an application to get high reputation, they have to have a high amount of users reputing them. Now, you can only hold 100 tokens at once, and your reputation is not equal to the amount of tokens that you have. It's equal to the amount of tokens that have flowed through the identity. So you have to spend those tokens in order to get more reputation. You have to repute applications or give away your tokens in order to get more, or sell your tokens, or in order to get more reputation flowing through you. So that it would be the only way for you to raise your reputation. For applications, it's a little bit different. They can always get reputation even if they have max amount of tokens, just because we don't want to have a situation where they got a high reputation, changed their website into a scam, and now they're locked into that high reputation.
Interesting.
And so
there's, by the way, there's also, as per everything Scatter, there's also a document in that website which is open for the entire community. It sets up the way that the Riddle system works. And I encourage every person who reads it to leave some comments to, kind of contribute to the way that the system will finally be implemented, because 2 heads is better than 1 and many heads is better than a few. And it's impossible to do anything which, maybe affects so many users without the input of at least a large portion of those users.
I know one of the most popular posts of all time on our forums is your Scatter is hiring.
I saw it.
So are you still hiring? I've had a few people ask about that.
We are hiring. There's, along with this airdrop, there's also an auction for names so that you can pre-reserve names inside of the Riddle system. It's going to be 1 EOS per name, and everything there is EOS related. You cannot do it with Ethereum, and this is just to hope that we can start getting some more people invested in EOS that maybe aren't already invested in EOS. There's also a CryptoKitty-esque auction there, which is really cool, so it's worth a read to go through that. I would like to start paying developers to work on, I put in a lot of time on Scatter, and probably, I don't know, a down payment on a house, a nice house, right, worth of money. And I would like to start paying people to contribute it, because I can't, tell somebody, hey, come and spend this as much time as I am, when they're not me. I get it. It's hard. So
what does the timeline look like, Nathan?
Well, Scatter is already ready. Scatter can be integrated into websites right now. It has all of the features, including multi-sig from multiple accounts. You can have, you can sign things from the website and the user who it's interacting with. So you can have, this is something you can't do on Ethereum. You can have multi-security so that that not only it came from the user, but it also came from the website. There is no timeline because it's ready. I'll tell you, Riddle is not quite ready, but Scatter is definitely open for use right now. It's already being integrated into a few applications.
I've heard some rumors about different applications integrating Scatter. Can you talk more about that?
I can't.
Okay.
Not my purview, I'm sorry.
No, sure, I understand. And then if we go back to the token as well, so it's an airdrop, and how are the mechanics on that? I know we have the site up here, we had the link.
You don't have to claim anything. You don't have to, you will have to take it out of, the exchanges by June 1st. We're taking the final snapshot, not any, not the snapshot from December, not the snapshot that's coming out in April. We are going to take the final snapshot of EOS and apply 50 tokens to every single person in the snapshot. So they will immediately be airdropped. The only stipulation is that you will have to, in order to use those tokens, you will have to pay the 1 EOS to claim your identity. Just that's how the system works. Otherwise, it's not Sybil resistant. But hey, what the tokens are worth is up to the community. You could be paying 1 EOS for a bunch more.
That's 50 tokens, regardless of how much EOS someone holds.
Exactly. You could be holding 0.1.
Interesting.
I know I talked to someone who mentioned how the token dynamics, they were an early advisor with you. The token dynamics were just genius. The way you designed everything, the way the token flows through your account is what actually counts for your reputation.
Right.
Are there any parts that we're missing here that we should know more about?
I kind of want to leave it a little bit vague so that people go and read the document, because I do want them to start contributing on it, because I think it's so important.
Definitely, yeah.
Do you have a Telegram channel or some sort of room?
We do, and if you go to airdrop.scatter-eos.com, it's the big button there in the middle. There's instantly a button for it.
Awesome. So that's if anybody wants to get involved, go to airdrop.scatter-eos.com and join up onto that Telegram channel. Kevin, any last few questions for Nathan, NSJames? And this is great news, and I think this is bringing a lot to the EOS community, especially this early before the launch.
I mean, yeah, when we talk about first movers, I would say you're doing great, obviously. I mean, this is something that yeah, there you go. Arms up in victory. Go pet Snuffleupagus for a while, maybe. I'm impressed. I mean, I've always been impressed, and that's why I happily, every time you have some new update, I happily put it in the Telegram summary, because it's the biggest thing going right now for EOS. And of course, this is the starting point for everybody. It's funny because I've, in the past, I've thought, why are we still in 2018 and we're having to put our passwords into everything like this? It's about time something.
Especially with blockchain, it's so unnecessary. We have private keys.
Right. And yeah, I mean, this is just a beautiful solution, and I can't wait to see how this goes. So
what was your relationship with Dan Kalinescu there, Nathan? I remember you made an interesting comment last time around on the last show.
What? The babies?
Yeah.
It all comes down to the babies. No, Michael Yates introduced us. I think it was Michael Yates. I'll throw Michael Yates' name out there.
It's always Michael Yates.
It's always Michael Yates, right? And he put me in contact with him, and then we had, an hour and a half conversation, just shooting the shit and going over things. And he wanted to ask some questions about scatter and putting it into and using it for Carmel and stuff like that. And we just really hit it off. He's a smart guy, and I like what he's doing. I like the whole philosophy behind it. I think it's super important that we get some education for people who otherwise can't get it. I, for instance, didn't have, I had to go out and buy books on programming just because I learned it 15 years ago, and there was very lacking information on the internet. So I think that it's really cool that we're in a position now in the world where we can just go online and learn something, especially programming.
Sure. And we like to sort of ask a lot of our interviewees from now on about EOS. Where do you see EOS in general going? When it comes to use cases, what are some of the most popular things that you see happening with EOS?
It's impossible to say. I'll tell you what, EOS is, I posted this was, I think, maybe my first Twitter post. I said, EOS is the first blockchain that I, as a user-centric programmer, can get behind. And I think that stands true, because you can build anything. You're no longer limited by this pay-to-play blockchain method. Like, I've been doing this airdrop thing on Ethereum for the past, I don't even know how long. And most of my time was spent trying to bring down gas prices for the users, not for me, but for the users. And that's ridiculous. We shouldn't be spending time trying to bring down the costs on users. We should be spending time making the applications better for users. User experience is king.
We have a couple good questions in the chat, and I'll start with Sam Sapoznik's question.
Hi, Sam.
Sam is on. Does Block One and the EOS dev team know anything about Riddle, and if so, have they commented or made suggestions about its design?
I have no idea. I've been head down programming for a while now. Haven't even been very active in chats recently. I'm sorry about that, but I hope that they do. I hope that they give some good insight and help make it something better than it already is.
Dan Larimer, we know you're watching right now. Meet up here with, who knows if he's watching. Yeah.
He's kicking back with a Mountain Dew and watching our show.
Absolutely.
Sure.
The other thing is, there was another question. Why did you choose to airdrop rather than doing an ICO?
I don't believe in ICOs. I don't believe in... it's not that I don't believe in them. I believe that they lead to a lot of scams, and they end up hurting blockchain as a whole, not just EOS, not just Ethereum, but the entire blockchain space. I stayed out of blockchain for a long time because of, the community that surrounds ICOs. It becomes very, very volatile. They become very, my team versus your team. And that's not how we should be building applications. We should be building applications because the applications are good, not because the coin is good.
Is that what drew you to EOS in the first place? Just seeing that Dan was trying to take it from a user-friendly approach and then go from there?
Absolutely. Absolutely. If I can see that all of my friends who are developers who would never touch blockchain would touch this one, I'm in. That's an instant validation that it's the future.
That's pretty cool. Let's see. We have any other good questions here in the chat? I think yeah, that's about it. From what I see on the chat. So, Mr. James, we would like to thank you for stopping by.
Thank you for having me.
Have a nice dinner there on the beautiful table behind you. That looks like it's about your size.
Yeah.
Other side.
Most expensive thing I own.
Oh, really? Okay. And so any final thoughts from you about Scatter? What would you like people to do next? I mean, obviously, Space Invaders, you have a little EOS symbol and you're shooting down Ethereum guys. So it's,
you know what bothers me about that game? You can never beat Ethereum. It drives me crazy. I should just take it down. Make Punch Out with Dan Larimer and Vitalik Buterin.
Swap the icons,
Maybe. I thought about that, but who wants to shoot at EOS with Ethereum?
You can't win. Yeah.
Nope.
Chicken and egg scenario. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, thanks, man. We really appreciate you coming on.